Have you ever felt that sudden dread while driving at night because the lights of other cars blind you, or because you simply no longer distinguish contours in a dimly lit room? Many erroneously assume that losing visual acuity is an inevitable sentence of the passing of time, but modern biochemistry has revealed a very different and hopeful reality. From the age of 50, more than 65% of the population experiences a silent degradation of photoreceptors, those vital cells responsible for processing light in dark environments. However, this is not an irreversible consequence of aging, but the direct result of a critical deficiency of specific nutrients that act as fuel for your macula. In this deep analysis, we are going to break down how oxidative stress is slowly turning off your vision and how it is possible to reactivate the cellular regeneration of your eyes through the strategic intake of 3 foods that function as an impenetrable biological shield. Pay close attention because the first element we will address is a potent natural regenerator capable of increasing macular pigment density by 40% in a matter of weeks, giving you back the clarity and independence you thought were lost forever. To understand the magnitude of this solution, and before revealing the exact name of this first essential food, it is imperative to dive into the microscopic physiology of your retina to understand what we are truly repairing. At the posterior center of your eye, there is a tiny area of just a few millimeters called the macula, which is responsible for your central vision and the ability to perceive fine details. However, what most people do not know is that the macula has a very characteristic natural yellow color. This color is no accident. It is due to the accumulation of macular pigments that act literally like internal sunglasses. When you are 50 years old or older, the density of this pigment tends to decrease drastically due to the modern diet and metabolic stress, leaving your photoreceptors, specifically the rods responsible for night vision, completely exposed and vulnerable to blue light radiation and free radicals. This is where the first food of our regenerative triad comes into play, an ingredient that has demonstrated in clinical studies the ability to increase the optical density of the macular pigment by 40% when consumed strategically. We are talking about spinach, but not in the way commonly imagined in a simple salad, but rather understood as a biochemical powerhouse of lutein. Lutein is an oxygenated carotenoid that the human body cannot synthesize on its own. We depend entirely on external intake to obtain it. Upon consuming this vegetable, lutein travels through the bloodstream and has the unique ability to cross the blood-retinal barrier to deposit itself specifically in the macula. Once there, it functions as a selective filter that absorbs the most harmful wavelengths of the visible spectrum, preventing them from bombarding the delicate lipid layers of the photoreceptor cells. It is fundamental to understand that the efficacy of this food lies in its preparation and chemical combination. The lutein present in dark green leaves is fat-soluble, which means it requires a fat matrix to be correctly absorbed by the intestine and transported to the eyes. Eating this vegetable raw and without a fatty accompaniment wastes a large part of its regenerative potential. Science tells us that by subjecting this food to light cooking, we break the cell walls of the plant, releasing the trapped carotenoids, and by combining it with a healthy fat, we maximize its bioavailability. This biochemical process allows the nutrients to saturate the retinal tissue, restoring the speed with which your eyes adapt to the darkness after being exposed to a bright light, such as the headlights of an oncoming car. The impact of this nutrient goes beyond simple protection. It acts by improving contrast sensitivity. Imagine that your night vision is like a camera with a worn-out sensor. By reintroducing optimal levels of this carotenoid, we are essentially cleaning the lens and improving the sensor's ability to distinguish objects against a dark background. This translates into greater safety when walking through your house at night or identifying traffic signs on poorly lit roads. The cellular regeneration we promote with this first step is not magic. It is the reactivation of physiological processes that your body has put on pause due to a lack of raw materials. By raising the levels of this specific antioxidant, we are also combating the low-grade chronic inflammation that usually affects the ocular capillaries, thus improving microcirculation and ensuring that oxygen reaches every corner of the retina. This is only the foundation of our protocol, for by strengthening the density of the macular pigment, we prepare the biological ground for the following nutrients to act with greater potency, creating a synergy that shields your vision against future deterioration. Once the foundation is established with lutein, it is imperative to direct our attention toward the exact center of the retina, a critical area known as the fovea. While spinach protects the periphery, we need a specialized agent that shields the point of greatest visual acuity, that tiny place responsible for your ability to read the small print on a menu in a restaurant with dim light or distinguish the details of a grandchild's face across the room. This is where the second food of our regenerative triad comes into play, which is often underestimated in daily cooking: the orange pepper. Unlike its green or red counterparts, the orange variety is a biological anomaly loaded with zeaxanthin in a much higher concentration. Zeaxanthin is the isomer of lutein, and its function is specific. It accumulates almost exclusively in the center of the macula to protect the cones, the photoreceptors responsible for color vision and detail definition. By incorporating raw or lightly sautéed orange peppers into your weekly diet, you are ingesting the material necessary to combat the phenomenon of disabling glare. Think about what happens when you drive at night and a vehicle with high beams crosses your path. If your zeaxanthin levels are low, visual recovery is slow and painful, leaving you blind for several dangerous seconds. However, by saturating the fovea with this antioxidant derived from the pepper, you create internal sunglasses that filter high-energy blue light and drastically reduce recovery time after glare, giving you back control and safety at the wheel. Nonetheless, having the nutrients available in the body is useless if the roads they travel on are blocked. This leads us to the third and final component of this protocol, specifically designed to address the promise of clearing the ocular arteries and optimizing microcirculation: wild blueberries or blueberries. The retina is the tissue with the highest oxygen demand per gram of weight in the entire human body. It requires a constant and vigorous blood flow to function and to eliminate the metabolic waste that accumulates during the day. With age, the capillaries that feed your eyes become rigid and narrow, which strangles the nutrient supply. Blueberries are rich in a specific type of flavonoid called anthocyanin, the pigment that gives them their deep dark color. Science has shown that anthocyanins have the ability to restore the flexibility of retinal capillaries and stimulate the production of nitric oxide, which dilates the blood vessels and allows for deep irrigation. But their function goes beyond circulation. Anthocyanins accelerate the regeneration of rhodopsin. Rhodopsin is the visual purple pigment that your eyes use to see in total darkness. Every time light hits your eye, rhodopsin bleaches and must be regenerated instantaneously so that you can continue seeing. From the age of 50, this regeneration process slows down, causing that sensation of blindness when entering a dark room from a sunny place. Regular consumption of these berries acts as an enzymatic catalyst, accelerating the replenishment of rhodopsin and allowing your eyes to adjust to the gloom with the agility of a much younger person. By integrating these three elements, spinach for peripheral protection and contrast, orange pepper for central acuity and glare protection, and blueberries to guarantee blood flow and the chemical regeneration of night vision, you create a complete biological synergy. It is not simply about eating vegetables and fruits at random, but about using food biochemistry as a tool of medical precision. This nutritional approach attacks the three main causes of age-related visual deterioration: macular oxidation, loss of pigment density, and circulatory insufficiency. By adopting this protocol, you are not only nourishing your eyes, you are reclaiming your independence and demonstrating that the loss of night vision is not an inevitable sentence of aging, but a reversible condition when the body is given the exact raw material that nature designed for its maintenance. Your vision is a gift that, with the right care and science, can accompany you with clarity and sharpness throughout all stages of your life. It is fundamental to understand that the implementation of this nutritional protocol does not work under the logic of an instant magic solution, but as a progressive biological reconstruction that requires strategy in its consumption to guarantee maximum absorption. This is where the secret that many ignore lies, and the reason why some do not see results despite eating healthily: bioavailability. The carotenoids we have discussed, specifically lutein and zeaxanthin present in that first essential food and in the orange pepper, are fat-soluble compounds. This means that from a chemical point of view, they are unable to dissolve in water and mandatorily require a fat matrix to be transported from the intestine to the bloodstream and finally deposit in the macula. Eating spinach or peppers raw without any type of fatty dressing drastically reduces their effectiveness, allowing barely a minimum fraction of the nutrients to be absorbed by your body. To truly activate the regenerative power of these foods and ensure they reach your eyes, it is imperative to always accompany them with a source of healthy fat, such as a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, pieces of avocado, or a handful of walnuts. By doing this, you are creating the molecular vehicle necessary for these protective pigments to travel through your system and accumulate in the retina, increasing the optical density of the macular pigment day after day. Consistency in this habit is what makes the difference between continuous deterioration and a tangible recovery. Clinical studies indicate that the saturation of these antioxidants in the ocular tissue does not happen overnight. A period of accumulation is required, generally ranging between 4 and 12 weeks of uninterrupted daily intake, to observe significant changes in contrast sensitivity and glare recovery. During this time, your body will be working silently, repairing the oxidative damage accumulated over decades and strengthening the cell membranes of the photoreceptors. It is a process of internal biological engineering, where every meal counts as a building block for a more resilient and sharp vision. Furthermore, it is vital to recognize that the benefit of this protocol transcends ocular health and connects deeply with brain health. The retina is embryologically an extension of the brain, and it has been shown that levels of lutein and zeaxanthin in the eyes correlate directly with cognitive function and mental processing speed in older adults. By nourishing your eyes with these superfoods, you are simultaneously protecting your mind against decline, creating an integral neuroprotective shield that benefits your quality of life on multiple levels. By adopting this nutritional discipline, you are challenging the conventional narrative that dictates that old age is synonymous with the loss of faculties and dependence. The ability to drive at night with confidence, to read the menu in a restaurant with dim lighting, or simply to walk safely through your house in the shadows are not luxuries reserved for youth, but biological functions that can be preserved and restored if the body is given the correct raw material. Modern science confirms that the plasticity and regenerative capacity of the human body persist far beyond 50, 60, or 70 years, as long as we eliminate the nutritional deficiencies that act as metabolic brakes. It is not about resigning oneself to seeing the world get darker and darker, but about turning on the light from within, using the biochemistry of nature to keep your eyes vibrant, functional, and full of life. Your vision is your primary connection to the world around you, and taking care of it with this level of scientific precision is the most powerful act of self-love and preservation of your autonomy that you can perform today. Like this, if you want to recover your night vision and subscribe to uncover more hidden truths about your visual health. Yeah,